Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race RHAPup here on RHAP. We know reality TV. Today, we're going to be talking about episode 5 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 17. RDR Live is back on our television screen. We have that. We have a whole tickle pink runway to talk about. And of course, with me today is our wonderful panel. You missed out on him last week, but don't worry. He's back here today to give all his thoughts. Amon Adwin. Amon, how are you?
I am fantastic. Sorry for missing out last week. I had a bit of a mishap with my busing back from, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'm good and I'm happy. And I'm like, oh my God. Sorry. I had something almost spoiled me on. I'm good. I had a tab playing that I forgot there was a tab playing somewhere and woo! Okay, I'm good. Yay! Drag Race.
Amon was watching porn right before this and play, and just the best part is we didn't hear anything. Just so you know, it's not like it captured your sound or anything. But that was great.
I'm sorry if I give anybody a heart attack that's just listening.
I thought I said something defensive, and I was like, "Oh, he's busted," and then you were like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh shit!" I like.
Clutching your pearls. How dare you say bussin'?
I was like,
well, speaking of bussin', it's
bussin' Beth.
Bussin' Dixon. That's your new nickname.
Oh, bussin' Beth Dixon. You know what? Today I'm bussin'. I'm doing well.
All right, I'm writing that down.
I watched this week's episode last night. At the time that SNL would have been on. So it's kind of like I was doing like a full PR. Is that what they call it? RDR.
RDR.
Oh God, this is going to be one of those podcasts, isn't it?
Okay.
Welcome, guys.
Okay, Amon's done watching porn. Beth's gonna collect herself, get it all together. We're gonna talk about the episode. So yes, of course, the main challenge this week was RDR Live. Before we get into this, one thing I do want to mention is the fact that, and Beth and I talked about this last week with Joella. So Joella got eliminated last week. But Lucky Stars got eliminated, there were a lot of tears. No one was sad for Joella leaving, seemingly, but we lose another queen here. But moving into the main challenge, RDR Live. How did you both feel about it coming back again?
You know, I like the formula. I like SNL. I am a more recent fan of SNL. Like, I feel like I didn't get into it until like I was like halfway through like high school into college. So I'm not as like well versed with like all the history of the show, but I like the general format. I think that it translates pretty well to Drag Race. I just don't know if the writing is the best, but you know, I feel like with Drag Race, there's always sometimes a hit or a miss with some of these sketches, so it's fine.
The way that you just described Saturday Night Live, though, as well, because like I would argue. People have been like, the past few seasons have really been hitting. I don't think so. Sorry about it. I think SNL, the cold open is typically really good. Weekend Update is hit and miss, but then there's normally like one or two other like sketches that are really good, and then everything else is like filler for the time, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like RDR Live really captured that, which is great. And some of that is the writing. And I don't think that they wrote their own shit this time again. I think that they were pretty much given their scripts, which is fine. But it is clear, like you, Amon, that there are people who don't know what they are referencing. And we'll get into that with like the Lydia butthole of it all. But there's also like the SNL references that they were not getting at all on the show. And I think that was both a good thing, because then it created like space for RDR Live to be its own thing, its own take and everything. But at the same time, there's the part of me that's like, well, if you're doing this as an homage to this sketch, you should have more of this feeling of the sketch involved with it. So we'll break that down. I feel like if they're not going to do the history lesson of like, what are these sketches in the way that they have done history lessons for like, why this song, why this look, why this designer, why this person, whatever, you should do the same thing for SNL, because I do think that there was a lot to be said about SNL kind of breaking the mold of what was on TV, similar to Drag Race. There were moments that, you know, they captured lightning in a bottle and helped to like move certain movements forward. And I think that it makes sense to kind of honor the history of that, and especially so many of the women who have come off of that show and made huge careers, right? But anyway, that's my waxing poetically to say, I really like this. I just wish that they would just do a little bit more background for the benefit of both the contestants and the audience.
Got it.
I think that's fair. I enjoyed this more than I did the last time they did RDR Live. And I don't know if that's because of the individual players, because of the writing, and we'll get into each individual script and how all of the contestants performed. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode, actually. I think a combination of the RDR Live being fun, a lot of the stuff that we got in the workroom, and Untucked this week was wild.
Oh, see it yet.
So,
I'm fine with being spoiled. I'll watch it later on.
Highly recommend. Essentially, it brings up a lot of the underlying drama. This felt like old school Untucked, and it kind of brought up some of that underlying drama. So I will briefly bring up some of those important moments, but I highly recommend that everybody go watch this week because it was pretty gaggy. And
I'll go spend $3 to watch it.
I'll send you a link.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
Just have an ad blocker on, unless you want to watch whatever Amon was watching earlier. Okay, so let's talk about the main challenge here. So obviously we've already discussed this at length. RDR Live, comedy show, filmed in one take, parody of SNL, la la la. What I've done is I've pulled up each of the queens' looks, but in the order in which they performed, essentially. So I want to talk about Anya Nerve on her own, because not only was she involved in the first sketch, which was the Neanderthal City Council, she also was the host. And it was interesting because when the queens were picking their roles, you know, Anya, I can't remember who it was in confessional, but gave Anya a little bit of flack for, really? Corey. Okay. Who was like, really, girl? Like, is this the role that
Did
you want to
see Mirage last year?
Exactly, yeah. Beth. Did you see Mirage last year? And I think, Beth, Anya, absolutely.
Me too.
Well, you crush it every week. Anya, especially this week, I think really crushed it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm really enjoying about Anya, we saw a little bit of this energy from her last episode, during the filming of the Untucked songs, which, oh my god, just quick sidebar, I loved that damn challenge. Anything that pays homage to all the shady shit that goes down in Drag Race Untucked is like gonna be, I was so mad when I missed the episode, but it was so good. And I think that she really was like, I know why queens have failed certain things in the past, and I know how to make Ru laugh, and I know how to make this my own. She did that for her one song in the Untucked challenge last week, and then she did it again for this one. She was like, yeah, I saw what Mirage did, but I wouldn't be acting like Mirage, so I don't know why, like, I'm the host, okay? So I think that she has really become a force to be reckoned with. I will admit that I think that kind of wrote her off after I saw that one of her first runways. I was like, girl, no. But I really enjoyed Anya this episode, and not only just her performance in the challenge, but I really enjoyed the conversation last week. Sorry to go back to last week, between her and Joella about, like, you know, culture and like what it means to like find yourself and how it can inform the way that you do drag. And yes, everyone has to. What I like the most about that conversation is she was saying, yes, culture is innate, but it's also things that you have to learn. It's something, it's heritage, is something that you can study. It's something that you can find bits and pieces of yourself in, and then use that to better inform how you move in the world and how you move as an artist. And I think that was just I never really heard it described that way. And I just really enjoyed that. So Anya really has been I've been having my eye on her for a while now. And this look, absolutely fantastic. Not one of my favorites. And I kind of agree with RuPaul's take in that you needed some hair to really just give it that big pop. But you know, it's pink and it's sexy and it's lovely. So yeah.
I think she did incredible. Hosting is hard. Hosting when you don't have a script and you have to write your own is harder. Look at Roxy Andrews All Stars 2. But I genuinely think that Anya, besides the acting in the first challenge, it's all charisma. That is what the hosting job is. And so she was the perfect person for that. The only other person I think who could have done that might have been Sam Starr, and come out there and just be like, I'm just going to give you my personality and here's this and blah blah blah. You felt comfortable and safe in her hands as the host, and in the way that we love Mirage, but that's just not what was in her wheelhouse. So it's to make you feel safe as a host. You're going to feel safe in a heel clacking, competition or song or whatever with Mirage, but you're not going to necessarily feel safe like, okay, this is the person who's like emceeing almost, right?
Yeah.
That said, I think there were people who outshone her that should have been in the top over her, especially when you consider the runways as well. I think this is a really cool concept. I'm just very distracted about the things that are actually not a part of the outfit. So like the control top of the stockings, creating those lines at the hips and the pelvis, the breastplate, being able to see where that begins and ends and such. And I feel like she's like 95% of the way there with her looks most of the time. But then there's just like something there that could be elevated or polished or whatever. And then add in like you need something to help balance out, because the whole point of this outfit is actually to draw attention to your hips. And so you need something up top, like RuPaul was saying, to help balance that out, because her padding and everything is gorgeous here. It looks really good. It's just, I shouldn't see that line, whole 9 yards. I say that, but like, I think she did a great job. I would have put her as high safe, not high this week.
She to me was one of the top two this week. So to me, it was between her and Susie for who was going to win after I saw the challenge performance. And I think part of that, why I put Anya so high, is because of the level of difficulty. Like I almost feel like because she was in a sketch and she had to host, that's like a double level of difficulty. And I think she nailed both. Genuinely, when the show opened, I felt like, oh my gosh, Anya is such a professional. Like this is actual SNL. I thought I was watching actual SNL. That's amazing. So I want to give her all the credit for that. Yeah. So I had her and Susie. Okay, going into the runway, I was like, her and Susie. It's between her and Susie. Anya walks out in this, and I go, okay, so Susie won. Not that I hate the look. I like the look. It's just, I completely agree with all the comments that the both of you have made. Like it just, the padding is gorgeous, but it just needs that bigger hair to really execute it. And maybe Susie still would ultimately have won, but I just felt like Anya absolutely nailed it. I'm so impressed by her. And I had the same reaction as Amon. After that first runway, I was like, ooh, girl, you're going home the first couple of weeks. And
I was like,
yeah. And I genuinely think that she could make it to the end. So
she is somebody who I genuinely think, like when we think about charisma in Nerve, she encapsulates both of those. And I don't mean Nerve because her last name is Nerve. I mean it because she is somebody who is so fearless in sharing who she is in a way that is kind of lightning in a bottle. On this show, of course, it's about people coming out and trying to showcase who they are and being different and on the fringes of society and those kind of things. And everybody's brave, but there is an ownership of her fearlessness and her confidence that is just unshakable. And I love watching it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on talking about the Neanderthal skit and talk about Corey King, Arietti, and Lana. So they're the queens who are in this next skit, and Arietti does end up in the bottom here. Amon, how did you feel overall? Pick a queen you want to talk about. Pick the sketch, whatever you want to jump into.
Yeah, so Arietti, she was hard for me because I really felt like she was trying. Like I felt like I saw each choice that she made as the caveman, or cave woman. And I laughed a couple of times. The line about they're gonna try to marry. I was like, I laughed. I was like, she is really, really going for it. Did it always register as cave woman to me? Not quite. I mean, but if I'm really analyzing it that deeply, Anya didn't really register as cave woman to me either. I feel like I think the one that really kind of embodied that like stereotypical cave woman type deal was probably Corey. So I struggled with her being in the bottom, especially with this look, which is just absolutely fantastic. So whimsical and such a like fantasy driven, but still very high fashion. She just looks like a dragon bitch. Like she just looks like she is just ready to breathe some fire and burn your ass and then like floss her teeth afterwards. Like I get the fantasy here. So yeah, I really enjoyed her, and I as we go through it, maybe because I can't really think of who else I would have wanted in the bottom right now, but maybe as we go through it, I'll figure it out. But I definitely did struggle with it. As far as Lana Jarrett is concerned, love this look. I do appreciate the sort of like more cutesy aspect that she brought to this because, yeah, she is sort of like known as like, Lux's protege coming out here with all of like this high fashion type deal, but we got to see a little bit of a muted thing going on. And I thought that she absolutely nailed her early woman role in the caveman sketch. It was
early woman.
Very funny. I loved the boobs to the beat of the drum and everything. I thought she absolutely, like, the physicality of it was perfect. And Corey, this look is beautiful. It's cute, but we're getting some of these same silhouettes, girl. What's going on?
Yeah.
We need something else.
I agree with you. I actually thought that Corey should have been in the bottom over Arietti because I kind of felt like Corey's acting was, well, she's there kind of thing. And at least Arietti was going big. And while if she was going to be in the bottom, I do think Arietti out of those three should have been the one who was safe. But we'll get to that. Runway alone. And I do think that the runway should count for this. And I feel like the past couple of weeks it maybe hasn't. I felt like Corey could have taken Arietti's place in the bottom and Arietti could have been low, safe. Lana Jarrett, I think, showed this is my problem with Lana. Okay. I think she's absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving the kind of calm, cool, but also will cut a bitch kind of energy that she brings in like a confessional, that she's not willing to back down and those kind of things. But there's a fierceness in like a proactive fierceness on the runway that is just look at me because I'm pretty, not look at me because I have everything,
Right. I own this.
Yes. She doesn't own it like the way that Lux did in that way. And I hate to do the comparison, but if you're going to come on and your whole thing is I'm so-and-so's daughter, then you are inviting us to have fair game to go, well, if you're her daughter, you're not bringing this energy. And the way that I would argue Sam Starr is bringing Trinity energy, I'm not seeing Lana bring Lux energy. She's bringing Lux outfits and already has a really good runway walk. So she thinks that that's it. My problem with her is you have a role like this that you're trying to break out and you stuck to it and you were like, I got to do something to showcase how I'm different and whatever. And then it's safe. That is not boding well for her longevity in the competition for me. She needs to wake up, Pearl, a little bit more, I think. But I think that Corey at this point, even though it's a cute outfit and everything, it's the kind of outfit I would assume, or like I would expect Willem to wear to Roscoe's, not on the main stage for a pink runway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, I'm so happy that you both gave your takes because I disagree.
Great.
Oh, okay, I loved Lana's look. I thought this is absolutely stunning. I thought she was gorgeous. What I do agree with is her performance in the challenge. What you both have said, the physicality, all of that. I think it was a safe performance, maybe like low, like high, but not enough to be top high, right? Like fourth, like maybe she's like fourth or something like that. Okay. But really, I want to talk about Arietti. As soon as she started doing her thing, I was like, she's in the bottom. 100%, I would put her in the bottom. I thought it was so bad. I couldn't understand the jokes. I couldn't understand what she was saying. There was maybe one or two lines that were funny, but it was just too over the top, straight from the get-go. And the runway, to me, gorgeous, but not enough to save her. That was like my feeling. And I think what's so funny is Corey and Arietti to me were like almost the opposites, because I thought Corey, yes, she was there in the challenge. I do agree with that. But at least she let the jokes breathe. And I actually thought the writing for the first sketch was quite good. So to me, Corey allowed the jokes to have their time and space, whereas Arietti just steamrolled all over them. So to me, that's why I agreed with the judges. Now, Corey's look was bad enough to potentially put her in the bottom. So like maybe she could have been the other one that ended up down there. But to me, Arietti was immediately in the bottom for me.
You know, that's fair. And that might be why I'm struggling right now to figure out who I would have put there right now, even as we haven't gone through all of the queens. And I think that, I think that's fair. I think that she was definitely over the top. And it wasn't necessarily what you would think of when it comes to caveman, the way that she was speaking. But I guess I was just won over by she tried really, really hard, but sometimes your skill set is not your skill set.
Well, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm gonna just be flat out and say I genuinely think that Corey, Arietti, and Sam should have been the bottom 3 for this week. And
not Lydia?
Not Lydia, and I'll tell you why.
Lydia,
we'll get there.
What?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
That's so funny. But no, I mean, but from Untucked, the queens were living for Arietti. So they did see
all
what
friends
she
with
was
her
doing.
too.
Oh my God, I need to see this Untucked.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put out there that I feel like Arietti and Lana are both fierce and they're both amazing. And again, none of this is coming from them as like drag artists. It's coming from them how they're applying it to the drag race competition, right? I feel like what they're going through right now is what we see all the time, which is fucking talented drag artists who aren't getting the praise that they thought they would get from the judges and now are getting pissed and then making that affect their performance. And we're seeing it with Arietti. And I do think that production is the type that finds those queens and kind of like tries to like nudge them in that direction, which is why you end up with people who come off the show going, I fucking hate production, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying Arietti's done that, but I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up being somebody who's like that. I think that she has a lot to offer. And considering that her drag mother, I also feel like is the type of person that could have been first out, comes back and wins an All-Stars. Like she's like the only first queen out that I feel that strongly about. They clearly are a look family. They're a concept family. They're high art. And they also don't give a fuck. And I love that. I love that energy. I love the ownership of being like a little bitchy. But I think with that comes a sensitivity that, you know, there are sensitive people who are saying, this is my art. And the fact it's not being celebrated, even though I know it's fierce, is affecting her performance. And so I think that production is kind of doing that a little bit towards it. And I feel like Corey, I feel like all three of these are exactly who the three are on the cast who are going through that right now. Lana in a very muted way, but like I need people to see that I'm more than just my legs and that kind of thing. Arietti's going, what the hell? I have all these high concept looks and I'm great and I was acting and what do you mean? And then Corey being like, I didn't know I'd be this bad. Shit, I gotta get out of here. Like I gotta like amp it up and now I have a fire under my butt. So these are the three I feel like production is gonna like, whenever we need somebody who we felt like could be in the bottom for a little, these are the three I think they're gonna do for the next few weeks.
Well, another thing from Untucked is Lana was very upset that she was not in the top. She was very upset that she was.
Oh, Lana, honey.
So
you watch.
But Beth, that's exactly to your point, right? About maybe production looking into. I mean, I think she should have been safe anyway, but you never know. Production wants to they got to make a show, so there might be some shenaniganizing. All right, let's move on and let's talk about our next group of queens. So this is Hormona, Sam, and Jules, who did what was the Women We Like podcast?
Yes.
What did you think about? Okay, wait, no, Hanson. For those of you listening to the audio only, Beth has put her face in her hands, and I really want to hear what she has to say.
This is the sketch. This is the sketch that I had so much hope for.
Yeah.
Because this is based off of the NPR sketch with Molly Shannon and Anna Gasteyer, and they had multiple versions of it. The most famous one is with Alec Baldwin doing the shreddy balls, that there are a delicious dish. And it's supposed to be two very clear 90s, early 2000s lesbians who make no reference to actually being lesbians. You just know. Okay. And they speak very, very softly into the microphone because it's NPR. And then they do these fun little things that they'll say, like, we're on the delicious dish. And, oh, your balls, they're so moist in my mouth. I love your sweaty balls. Right. And then they had one with Betty White on where, like,
not Betty White. Oh my God.
They had one with Betty White on where she was Dusty, and Dusty is a baker from Connecticut, and she's here to talk about her Dusty muffins. Dusty muffin. It is, it's surprisingly moist. I thought it would be drier. And you're like, oh no. Everybody loves my Dusty muffin, right? That's what the fucking sketch is. And the only person who gave any remote energy to that was Hermona. And I'm sorry, I don't think that was enough for Hermona to be in the top. And she was. I felt like, just out of pure spite, I felt like all three of these two, at least Jules and Sam should have been in the bottom for this. Like, I was so heartbroken. When they first started off, I went, oh, okay, they have that soft energy. They're going for it. Great. Sam started with that voice, and I went, okay, it's not landing, but maybe once she starts getting stuff in. It was like they were really trying to attack each other for, like, being horny when they really should have been doing the playful, like, oh, stop that. Oh, you're so bad.
Yes.
You're so bad. And that was the thing that I was like, these people don't know what the history is of this sketch. And because they didn't know what that was, the whole sketch didn't work for me.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings a lot more clarity as well. I'm not familiar with this sketch. I had no idea what it was until you explained it.
No.
But even so, I found it very weird that Sam was trying to play the straight man in it. I was like, why are you? I feel like it would be so much more funny. And I think one of the judges said this at the round table, if you were more agreeable to it, or at the very least you were like less snarky when delivering your lines to your co-host. It just didn't. I was like, I feel like this should be. They shouldn't be at odds. I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
They're not supposed to be.
Jules Sparkles, I felt like she was sort of like giving it a little bit more realist energy as opposed to comedy. Like, it felt like she was actually the person that she said that she was, and that she was actually talking about her beaver, even though they accentuate it with, I mean, not her beaver, but her like a beaver, like an animal beaver.
Wait, what? Can you explain?
That's what it was?
And I know that they accentuated it by actually putting beavers on the desk, which is supposed to be a gag within itself. Yeah. But I felt like, I just felt like Jules was, she was like giving you, I'm drama, honey. I'm actually, I'm a nominated actress. Like, bitch, this is comedy, okay? So, yeah, all three of them I felt like just weren't. And I can agree with you, Beth, that I think that maybe Hermona was probably the most in tune with what was going on. As far as the look is concerned, oh my God, Jules. Ooh. Oh, baby.
That was cool.
Oh, baby. Just
the repurposed gown into a pantsuit, like with hip cutouts.
Jules is another one that I'm like, this bitch knows what she's doing. Like, oh my God. Like, the performance in the challenge was not a great this week, but like, she's been doing steadily well. She did great in the challenge last week. I loved her look last week then, and just all of her stuff thus far. I'm like, this bitch is talented as shit. Like, yeah, I think she's gonna make it to the end. She's gonna make it.
I agree.
Sam. And maybe, I'll acknowledge, I'm human. I do have a little bias going on. Maybe the fact that she is, Trinity's daughter. Maybe I hold a little bit of ill will because I was never really a Trinity person. But I just still feel like, and it's the same thing that I felt with Trinity. Sometimes I just feel like it's all too manicured. It's all an act. There is nothing. I don't know who you are. It all feels like, even in your confessionals, it feels like you are talking the way that you feel like you're supposed to talk in the confessional. And all of your looks are beautiful, but they are soulless. I don't get it. And that sounds so mean and harsh. No. And I know that she's a real person underneath all that. I get it, but I'm just not seeing it. And I wish there was a way to bring that out of her, because
she's Barbie.
Yes, it's just too.
Who is Barbie? Barbie is everybody, but like, that's the literal point of the Barbie movie, right? It's like, Barbie is perfection in everything she does, but who the fuck is Barbie at the end of the day? Because she can be and is anything and everything that other people want. Sam is so beautiful and put together and polished, and she has so much perfection, quote unquote, all over the place. But what it's missing is that imperfection that makes you who you are, that you get to exploit and say, this imperfection actually makes me perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not rootable, unfortunately. And that's, it kind of goes, not yet. And it's one of those things that, like, when I think a lot of people, the reason why they were mad when Alaska won All Stars 2 was because they felt like she never had that moment until she threw a tantrum where, like, she wasn't effing perfect.
$10,000 if you let me stay.
But it's just, I think that, you know, you need some of those moments sometimes to truly be a winner, because you, like, it's very rare that you have a Bianca Del Rio, right? That you have somebody who just comes and stomps on the a Sasha Colby or whoever, right? Who just is like, they're not going to slip up because that's their brand. And they're lightning in a bottle. You know what I mean? But, like, I don't know. I agree with you. There's something about Sam that, like, she is so clearly talented and smart and those things, but I just find myself actively, like, maybe it's just because this is going to sound awful, but I feel like the drag she represents is like everything that I feel like the patriarchy like upholds for femininity. And I'm just like, so, like, fuck you. I don't want the Southern blonde belle girl who looks beautiful and perfect and speaks perfectly and blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. I think I'm just, like, so turned off by that in 2025. And that is, like, so inherently unfair against Sam. But at the same time, I'm entitled to my opinion and my feelings. But
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And Ramona looked gorgeous too, I think.
Yeah. That's just so funny to me. Like, I love the idea of, like, the right is what Sam Star is.
She represents everything the patriarchy holds dear.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, I look, I mean, I think I overall, I really agree with everything you all have said. To first touch on Jules, when she walked out, I thought it was a gown. And then I was like, oh, they're pants, and had, like, the most gag reaction to that. I thought her performance was serviceable. The terrible Australian accent was still kind of funny.
That with English, it was English and Australian.
Yeah.
She was like,
what is going on?
At one point, I was like, that is Cockney. That's not... I loved, but I thought that made it funnier, which is why I was like, she's safe.
Well, and also in the confessional, she goes, it's because of Beaver. Like, I really want to say Beaver. And then she didn't even really do that all that well in the actual sketch. So the whole point of it just completely fell apart. But yeah, I was really excited for this one. And I just feel like the creative direction was bad. They needed who is the Susie Toot of this group that's going to say, like, don't do that. Stop doing that. That's a bad idea. And the jokes were, again, I actually thought this was maybe well written as well. So to me, it was like, let the jokes, like, that's the point, is that you're not supposed to know that they're innuendos, right? Yeah. So to me, it just didn't work. And I will give Hormona Lisa credit for the clipped middle and ring finger.
Yeah,
so
that
she
was
had the lesbian nails
pretty
going.
amazing. I love that.
Beautiful. I was surprised though when Hormona did end up in the top. So that was I
felt like she should have been high safe. Something that Aman said that made me think is that he said, you know, trying to play the straight person, Sam was, like, in terms of, like, but I guess my clarifying question is, did you mean straight as in sexuality, or like the straight man in comedy?
like the straight man.
That's what I thought you meant. Okay. But then all of a sudden, as I was about to make this point, I was like, maybe he meant the other thing. No. Okay. So the point of this sketch is that they're all straight men. That is why it is hard.
Yes.
And that is why you need to know what you're referencing when you do this, because what you're doing is trying to make a grandiose joke vibe when that is the exact opposite of what this is. This sketch is all about quiet subtlety, moments and air to breathe, and smiles and positivity, and then at the same time saying some nasty shit innuendos. That is the point. And that's why, like, on the one hand, I can at least acknowledge, hey, this was the RDR version. It's campy. It's going to be bigger, blah, 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 blah. But I just think that like this ended up for me being the worst sketch.
Yeah.
Which is why I struggled with the Arietti Corey thing, because at least I felt like that sketch worked. I felt like this ended up not working because maybe I'm just being a purist.
Oh no, I think all three of them were just not on the same page in terms of
Agreed.
Yes. Like not on the same page with each other, and then also not on the same page with what they were referencing. Yeah. So it was just a bunch of misses creatively.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Next up is I guess do we want to talk about RuPaul's performance of The Devil Made Me? Well, I assume it was The Devil Made Me Do It, which in my notes I wrote down Devin made me do it, and I don't know who Devin is, but I think
from BB16.
Devin has the daughter, and he made me do it.
Devin's daughter.
Yeah,
it was fine. It was cute.
It's a cute little shimmy shake,
I like the song.
65 years of age.
Yeah,
he's out here. RuPaul makes good music. I think we all rag on him from time to time, but he makes good music.
I am living that RuPaul's dance move every single time is like a fake step forward and back with like the arms moving, and then sometimes they go off to the side, and then
you gotta do the arm up in the air. We can all do it. Amazing.
RuPaul gives 80s fitness instructor vibes when she's performing in a mini dress on stage, and I live. But I agree. I thought the song was a bop.
Sometimes he gives you that Mariah Carey energy. If you ever seen that video of like when the dancers are going full out and she's just doing like the bare minimum of the dance, just like
or like the New Year's performance like from years ago. It was like walking back and forth, whatever. RuPaul gives that energy, and I love it because she owns the fact she's like, I'm not a lip syncer. I'm not a dancer or performer. She has always been somebody who is there to act a fool, engaged, be interviewed with, that kind of thing.
Music. He can be.
Look a fucking amazing. But she's never been one to be like, and now a fucking duck walk. Like, she's not doing that shit, right? And like you said, she's 70,000 years old. So it's but I always find them cheesy, fun interludes.
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be. Like, again, we're not taking ourselves too seriously here.
If only Jeff Probst would consider doing something like that, where all of a sudden, could you imagine before he's like, and then your teams will have to unbury like this thing. And he's like, but before we get going, I have some like announcements or whatever. And then you just have like, people drumming, and then he just like starts like.
Well, he did sing that song. What was that song that he did? Was it Glasses on Survivor or something like that? Is that what he did? Yeah. So he could release an album.
Hello. It would have been great if he had done the "You Better Get Ready."
Yes. He could do the Winners of War song.
Yeah. Do that first. Oh, I hope that there is a big song for Survivor 50 as a side note. And that he
opening
performed
number. Oh my god. Wait. Okay. So Love Island USA this season, they did this whole like opening number to like it was like some tropical house song or something.
Choreography and everything.
With choreography and everything. And I want to see that with the Survivor contest where they're all like out.
But also, remember when he used to do like those really campy openings when it was based on location and the different seasons, and he'd be like up in a helicopter talking about this, and then he would like skydive out of it or whatever. I mean, like he didn't really do that kind of shit. But do that as like an opening number and like randomly have like Neil Patrick Harris in there. You know what I mean? Like it would just be ridiculous.
Okay, I had the girls in the wrong order, so now we're back on track. Where the next skit was the Queen News Network, which this is where, Beth, when you mentioned what they were referencing, like this is where you could put in a clip, right, of Weekend Update, and like show, okay, this is what we're talking about. But essentially Lexi and Crystal, they're going to play themselves as the hosts, and then Susie is going to come in as Miss Rhonda to talk about RuPaul's book. So Aman, how'd you feel about this group of queens?
They didn't have the chemistry that I was necessarily looking for, Crystal and Lexi. I thought that they were fine. They were serviceable. But you kind of just want like a little bit more. Maybe I need to rewatch the sketch again because I kind of daze in and out of this one. So I will give you a little bit of disclaimer.
That's a sign.
But Susie, on the other hand, I thought, She understood the character she was playing. She understood the source material. Granted, maybe if you're not a big SNL fan, maybe this one is still easier to follow because it's the most RuPaul centric out of all of the sketches. So she does have a little bit of a leg up there, but she was very grounded in the character that she chose. She was very committed to the formula of her jokes about making it about something else and then be like, but then I said this thing and now it's on TV. Like it was very, she understood what she was doing. So I completely understand why she won, even if it maybe wasn't the thing that made me laugh the most. But yeah, I think that in terms of these looks, I like Crystal's. We've seen sort of this drippy latex look before. Most notably, the one that comes to mind always is Jan's freezer ice monster look. And I like this. I kind of want it to be a little bit more cinched in the middle. I understand that it's supposed to be a dripping mess, but I still need it to be just a little bit more fashionable. I hate Susie's look. I'm sorry. I appreciate, and you know what? I'm kind of eating my words because I remember a couple weeks ago, I was talking about how I'm appreciative of the fact that Susie, she has a certain time period that she borrows from, and I'm glad that she is studying up on different silhouettes from that time period. This happens to be a silhouette that I do not like. Okay. I hate it. I just see clown and that's it. Yeah. Lexi's is fine. It's so dark with all of the black, and I understand that it's what is that, cheetah, leopard? I don't know.
A big cat.
Just a pink
big
panther.
Pussy. A big pink pussy.
But I wasn't particularly drawn to this look either. So I thought the fact that the two of them were safe was fine to me. Susie winning, okay, but whatever.
I am notoriously not a Weekend Update fan. In general, I only have appreciated certain people doing it. I loved when it was Seth and Amy and Jimmy and Tina. Kevin O'Neill, I always liked way back in the 90s. Chevy Chase, you can't beat him. He's the original. There's all these people that have good history of it. And then there's also been a shit ton of really bad Weekend Update people. And I will call them out. Norm Macdonald, Colin, whatever his name is, not Jost, but the other one. Although I'm not a big fan of Colin Jost and Michael Che, but that's just me. A lot of people love them though. So I get that.
I feel like they have bastardized what the Weekend Update is.
Agreed.
But I kind of live for it though.
But that's the thing.
I
I would much rather that they're bastardizing it and making it their own, and that is something that people are responding to. I just personally don't. I loved the Seth and Amy thing because they're both kind of up here with their energy, and that they will do it and they'll go blah blah blah. And I think that works better than two people who are making dry jokes and making jokes that are offensive for the other one to say, and all this stuff. I get that, and it's not like I've never laughed at that, but I just whatever. I felt like Crystal and Lexi were given that kind of material to do, and it just fell flat. It just felt like they were reading lines. Yeah. That said, I don't think they should have been in the bottom because it was serviceable. They went through it. I was like, okay, that was a joke. They did actually give room for jokes to breathe most of the time. I did feel like Lexi actually at one point kind of stomped on Crystal's, or maybe her own, but whatever. Susie did the role that I would expect a Susie to do, which is to come on and play the character who is just larger than life, but is also somebody that we kind of all know in our lives, right? So she's doing the drunk uncle, which is somebody Bobby Moynihan did on SNL. She's doing, to a certain extent, Rosanna Dana, that she's doing a little bit of this and that, but she knew exactly the kind of person she needed to model this after, and then was able to kind of take references from both SNL and just real life to put this out there. All the phrases that RuPaul says, so it's pretty easy to then just be like, and then I was doing this and that's great, right? So I expected Susie to do at least this amount, and she did. And I don't hate her outfit in the way that you do. And here's the funny part. I legitimately have a phobia of clowns, which is hysterical that I like drag. And hysterical that I like this outfit. The thing I think would have helped her outfit the most was having either a much more cinched waist or something in the waist area, like a belt or something that was kind of campy there. Because I love that the sleeves are big and the legs are not. I love the different textures of like the velvets and then like the checkered harlequin kind of the look there. I think the hair is almost a little too small when you have that many ruffles on the neck. And I love the big balloons. I think that this was a great way to make a clown look a little draggier. That said, I also would have loved big tits on her. Sorry, like if you're gonna go
Jimbo.
Yeah, like I think if you're gonna have those big balloons and you're gonna have big sleeves, you're gonna have big ruffles, but then you're gonna have flat on the chest, it just looks a little weird to me. I don't think she should have won. I think she should have been in the top, but I don't think she should have won. I think that Lexi.
Who would you have given it to?
Anya? Let's go through all the. Let's go.
Okay. We'll reset at the end.
I had like very different ideas of everything. So Lexi, I felt like this is. I'm just not somebody who normally goes for animal print, but I could appreciate the look and the concept. I love the shoes, boots with it. But I think this is safe.
Lovely. That was
the eyes when she was putting on her makeup in the room, and I was like, "Are those like pink and white contacts?" And they sure were. That was insane. I'd never seen anything like that. Crystal Envy to me, like you said, Aman, you think of Jan. I think of Evie Oddly's like melted crayon look kind of thing from All Star 7 with this kind of latex thing. I love that she comes out and the first thing you see is that huge balloon that pops to make it look like she just like got it all over her. That was such a cool detail to add to the runway, even though it's over so quickly. And oftentimes that's the thing that we're like, oh, I wish I would have waited longer. That was the appropriate way to do that for something like this. It's a safe look. It's cool. It's not the thing that I'm going to go, oh my God, forever going to think about this look. I'm going to think about this look the next time somebody does something like this. But I don't know. I felt like this was a safe group. And Susie, again, I thought she did a really good job, but there's other people.
Yeah. I think that Crystal and Lexi's looks are fantastic. I think Crystal's is amazing. I love the idea of doing like a bubble gum with the latex and everything. Yeah. Beautiful. Lexi's, I think it's the Lisa Frank girl in me that just can't help but love the animal print. Susie's look untucked. They were again on board. Like they did not like this look. And maybe I also like a good pair of balls, but I love the giant balloon things on her arms. I don't know why. That like really does it for me. But I think what this represents, and we've discussed this where, there's been such an elevation of the looks on the runway. People are spending more and more and more money. But at the end of the day, it's these other talents that carry. Yeah. And that's why I'm okay with Anya and Susie having maybe the worst looks on the runway, but crushing it and being in the top 2 because there are all these other other talents that are just so incredibly important. It's not RuPaul's Drag Race fashion show. I mean, next week it will be with the ball challenge, but this week was not. This was RDR live. And I think that Susie absolutely read the brief. She nailed it. And sure, maybe it was like a quote unquote sort of easy role to be able to play, but she went for that. That's the one she chose. That's the one she went for. And I also think looking back at a lot of the conflict between Lexi and Susie, I'm happy with the choices that Susie pushed back on, right? Because when Lexi's like, we're going to strangle each other and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Like that would not have worked. I didn't like that. I would not have.
You got to listen to her here. That's the thing.
I'm okay with it.
I'm with you on that. I think that sometimes what's hard about this is when you're creating your own art and you're also trying to prove yourself, you want to be able, and if you're someone like Lexi who has done it on her own, you know what I mean? You don't want to be told what to do with your art. Right. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to create space and understand that some people have skill sets that you don't. And who in this situation is going to be more likely to have RuPaul's sense of humor? Probably the girl who has been lauded for it so far and is clearly a good actress. and does sketch comedy, right? This is something that she said she does in her wheelhouse. So I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Strategic.
Strategery.
All right. Our last group of queens
Oh, God.
is our Golden Girls reference with Butthole and Acacia Forgot. Aman, not the oh God.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Wait,
And I
what do you
hate
What do
the
you
way that
What do you
every time she would get her name mentioned, whenever she was during the critique, and that she would make the penis just lean to the side.
I loved it.
I hate that.
That was so fun.
Loading at the top. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it in the best way possible. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to see a big, gigantic penis with legs. It's just making me feel things. I hate it.
Wait, okay, time out.
Ugh.
Is this because you were just watching porn before you got in here? That
He had come already, and he was like, "I don't want to see this anymore."
I'm edging, and I have to do this podcast right now. But now there's just super attractive dick on the screen. Oh God!
This is definitely one of those looks that would not have been allowed on the show. Maybe a few years or so ago.
Oh, 1,000%.
You know what I mean?
I'm so happy you brought that up because to me, Manila's look, which she was not allowed to wear on the runway. So for those of you who aren't watching the video, this was her pad look, where it was a sanitary pad, and she was not allowed to wear this. And I'm like, you let a full-on fuzzy penis out there, and you didn't let a reference to menstruation? Like, WTF, mate? Like, what is going on?
It's the patriarchy that Sam Star
stands
for.
It's not Sam Star's fault.
This is all Star's fault.
Star's fault.
They made Laganja throw out half her wardrobe for season 6 because all of it had paraphernalia on it. They were like, nope, can't do it.
Yep.
But they'll let a big old floppy penis just strut on down the runway.
All right, sorry, Aman, we cut you off. Go ahead. Keep on keeping on.
I don't truly hate it. I cringe when I look at it. I don't know why. I'm just uncomfortable. I guess I'm a prude. As far as her performance is concerned, oh God, it was the most wooden ass bitch I have ever seen. You could tell that she was so focused on having the dentures ready as her prop. You could see her pull them out of the purse that she was handling.
5 minutes before it
5 minutes before you needed to have it, and then she couldn't put it back in, so she was left to sit there like this the whole time. And I'm like, because I have done stuff like that in the past, being in theater, where you just know that you messed something up, and now you can't move from that spot, because now it's like if you move, everything else is getting exposed. So it's just I've been there and I know what that feels like, but girl, you let that bleed into the rest of your performance, and it was just, not that I think that was the sole reason. I just think that Lydia is just not the best actress, period. But yeah, it was so bad. The funniest part of the whole thing was when she, got to get up and walk out with the doctor and show a little bit of that old lady physicality. But other than that, it was not giving at all. I don't know why she fought for that role so hard, because girl, no. And Acacia, she was funny. I enjoyed her. She was definitely, laying it on thick in the way that she needed to. And that was her look. To me, it's fine. Even as someone who loves the 80s, I'm like, yeah.
I definitely understand Lydia being in the bottom.
Okay.
I am never going to say she shouldn't have been in the bottom. I'm saying that I was entertained by how bad she was.
No.
And then when the dick came out, I thought that should have saved her.
Okay. All right.
That's
fair.
what I'm saying. Okay.
Saved by the dick.
Saved by the dick. Because as soon as she came out, all I could sit there and think about when she came around the corner in this was how many elements of this I both loved and hated at the same time. I love and hate the feather coming out of the top.
I hate it.
I hate this wire dishcloth dick head. But I love it. You know what I mean? I hate this furry coat that has two big balls that sometimes looked like they were her legs and feet. I thought that was actually kind of cool that it looked like the balls were actually the Shaft's feet walking. I actually thought that was kind of fun. I also kind of like that in my heightened state at 1:30 in the morning when I watched this last night, I loved that there's a part of me that's like, you know, this is how you can really see how, biologically speaking, people start off with female reproductive parts, and then as the Y chromosome does its thing, you know, the clit turns into a penis, and the vagina turns into the shaft, and like, you know, the testicles are like, the ovaries are the testicles now, like all this stuff. And I could look at this and go, you know what? There's a certain level that kind of looks like a labia and a clit in this too. So even though it's a dick, I was also kind of getting like where her head is and such. I thought there was so much to look at here that it was like so drag and so outside the box and stuff that we don't see on this show that I loved it.
Beth is on board. Beth's pro-peen.
I'm pro-peen. Make it known that I'm pro-peen, anti-men. I'm not just kidding.
Well, no, you're seeing the duality of sex organs.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean? Like,
that's right. I think it's important. That said, I mean, she clearly has. Why you would fight for Gert when you've never seen Golden Girls is one thing. Second of all, I can't get out of this. And I think this is part of the reason why sometimes like the dick and all this other stuff is uncomfortable, is she looks 12 out of drag. And it is weird when all of a sudden she's in drag and she looks much older in drag than she does out of drag. But I'm still sitting here going, that is a child as a penis. That is a child. And then they're like, no, she's like, what, 21 or something? And I'd be like, no. She's 11. She's 10 years younger. Like, she looks so effing young. She looks younger than my college students that I work with. And that to me sometimes is a little nerve-wracking, because I'm like, this is somebody who I feel like is in high school or in middle school or something. So I can understand that too. The last thing I'll say is I thought Acacia Forgot should have been in the top.
100% agree. Instead of Hormona.
Of Hormona, it should have been Acacia. I thought Acacia carried this entire scene. She outshone, you know, the guest actor, which Peter M. Downs, or is it M or whatever, Peter W. Downs. It was the upside down. I felt like Acacia knew exactly what she was doing. It was as if she was actually, what's her? Oh my God, I'm losing it. Ruth?
Blanche?
No. Blanche. Yeah, but what's her? Rue McCallaghan. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, Ruth, Jesus Christ, Beth. I'm telling you. Talk about Acacia Forgot. I forgot a shit ton of things. I think Acacia every single week is climbing up a little bit more of what I did not expect this kind of stuff from her. Mm-hmm. She did this really well. She brought the Golden Girls thing. And what I kind of like the most is that she tried to tell Lydia how to do the picture it, Sicily kind of line, but she wouldn't do it. And instead of pushing her to try to do it right, she was just like, I'll just outshine her. So
I told you.
Good for you. So I love a queen who's playing the game, who's trying to get her scene partner to do it. But if your scene partner is not going to do it, you show up and show out. Okay. And that's what she did. I like this outfit a lot. I don't think it's the most innovative thing in the world, like you were saying, Aman, but it's very true to her brand, and it's also very dragged up. I love the pointed shoulder pads with the ruching kind of going up that too. I think that's like really neat. And I love the multicolored mullet with such a bright blush. Like that to me was so cool. So I felt like she should have been in the top. I think the only thing I don't like about this look is then you just kind of have black see-through tights and black shoes. Like, bitch, go pink on the shoes. Like, if you're going to go all that up there, get the same fabric, put it around that shoe, and then it's perfect, right? I think she should have been in the top over Hormona. I was going through Liana because I was like, I don't think so-and-so should have been in the top. I don't think so. I remember last night, I did think Anya should have been in the top. Okay. I just felt like Acacia, for me, I almost think should have won the actual week. Mm-hmm. I felt like she was that much stronger, and I felt like that scene ended up working because of Acacia. And I know a lot of people would probably say, that scene didn't work at all. Fair. it worked for me only because of Acacia, and I feel like that is much harder to do than like what Susie got to do, which was basically solo time on her own, where she didn't have to rely on a weak scene partner and the guest judge on the in there. I think that there's much more pressure on Acacia, and therefore I think Acacia should have won the week, let alone been in the top.
That's a good point. That goes back to the argue of the level of difficulty, right? If this is gymnastics or something like that. The same way that Anya, I think, had a more difficult role. I think Acacia also had a difficult role. I agree. I think she should have been in the top. I like the look, but it's a little disproportionate with the legs. It just looks like there's this like, big top, and then he's like, teeny tiny legs. So the pink shoe, perhaps. We've discussed the peen at length. And at girth.
Ew.
So I think we don't need to say anything more about that. Lydia was terrible. I'm sorry. Lydia was awful and should have been in the bottom. So where does that leave us? So that gives us our winner, Susie Toot, who we've already talked about. It gives us our bottom two of Lydia and Arrietty. Now, Boogie Wonderland was the lip sync song this week, Beth. How'd you feel about it?
I didn't think at first. I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of a weird song to lip sync to. And boy, I was totally wrong. This was so much fun to watch both of them. I think the camera absolutely favored Lydia. And I think that impacts the way in which we view it. That said, I did not expect Lydia to be able to boogie oogie oogie the way that she did. And even though it was very like white girl dancing, it was white girl who can actually move dancing, like who knows where the beat is, which is fun and it's a good energy. And she did throw in some tricks and such in there, but she encapsulated having fun. Whereas Arrietty came across as being like fucking pissed that she was lip syncing. That's the energy I got.
She was literally about to cry before the actual lip sync.
And again, it goes back to that sensitive thing. You can be a bitch and you can own all that kind of stuff. And I am one of, if not the most sensitive person in the world. So when I say like you're sensitive, I don't mean that as a negative thing. I think that we've for far too long tried to say that sensitivity is this horrible thing. Fuck off. It is the way that we like process shit. That said,
for far too long.
For far too long. The patriarchy and Sam Star have not made it so that I can cry in peace and in comfort. No, so I just think that I think that she just let her emotions channel in the negative ways for her performance. Not that she did poorly, but it was just that for a song that's about having fun and boogieing and all that stuff, she came across as too serious with it, and it didn't seem to have joy and fun. Which is part of the reason why I thought that going into this, it would be a really hard lip sync as I went back and thought about it. Because I was like, if you just were told you might go home and there's a 50-50 shot and then you have to lip sync a very joyful song, it's much easier to get up there and, try to do a ballad or something with grit or anger or attitude. It is much harder to experience joy when you are, and like the joy of performing when you're under pressure. So
yeah, I thought that Lydia did a really good job. I think the move that really won it for her was her little twirl of her little booty at the end. I think that really was like the stamp on that entire lip sync. And I do think that Arrietty was very much in her head. I think that she was hitting moves, but I don't think that she was really agreeing with the song that much. And yeah, I mean, I gotta say, a lot of the cast really does seem to have an affection for Arrietty. So, when she was the one, I mean, to me, it really did just look like Lydia won. It wasn't like a complete blowout.
No.
But she won that.
But
and so when the entire cast, with the exception of Anya Nerve, actually, no, almost everybody was like had mouths agape. I think.
Wait, I have. Hold on. I saw somebody put the screenshot on Reddit. Hold on. Yes. Because it was so fun. It was so funny. It was this where Anya just standing there.
It should have cut to Anya in a confessional going, "I'm not gagging.
I'm not gagging. Yeah. I mean, I am from the smell. Yeah. Russia was so
Drag Race really is just one of the best quotable shows. I'm sorry. Like,
so good.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that the cast seemingly didn't agree with us, or are they just so in love with Arrietty and friends with Arrietty that it was just like, I can't imagine she goes home this early, I was like, well, she was in the bottom last week too. So I mean,
I think it's a whole bunch of people who are dramatic, trying to make good television, who also care about the person who might be eliminated, but then being like, hi, I'm a literal drag queen. I'm gonna go big and be. I'm like, oh my god, she got eliminated and she was in the bottom 2 and she was in the bottom last week and Michelle didn't like her makeup and then she said nothing about her makeup this week and what the heck is going on? Like, I think that there's a little bit of playing it up. And that's why I love Anya Nerve so much, because it just comes across as like, she just comes across as very real. And I love that.
Yes. Well, and again, in Untucked, the queens were living for Ariete. So to then have her go home almost in this episode, I think that's where you get a lot of the, kind of gagged reactions. Yeah. I do think Lydia kind of benefited from, at least for me, like low expectations. And so when she started to, I was like, huh? Let's go ahead, like do it. I love it. But anyway.
And also, clearly, she benefits from the fact that RuPaul loves saying butthole. So,
as do I. I actually, in my notes, I don't write Lydia anymore. I just write butthole. So she's just butthole now.
I love it. I think that's literally how she goes by. I think that's what she meant by like her friends call her butthole, outside of drag. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, we might not be friends yet, but I'm already using her
butthole. If you want to come on the podcast and have an interview, we would gladly call you butthole for an hour. So thank you. Or half an hour, whatever you have time for.
Let's talk about the tank. Okay? Badonkadonk tank? Badonkadonk. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Beth was mentioning this before we got on live, but it was a 1 and a 7 were the 2 levers that were safe, which to me brings up, did Hormona Lisa, was she told to pick 7?
I have so many fucking theories about this. And I want everyone to know that this is the kind of stuff I'm choosing in 2025 to have conspiracy theories about, because I can't bear to look at the real world. There are multiple things. There's the theory that I've read that Hormona Lisa is a plant.
Okay.
And I'm here for it.
Like BB Zahara Bonet from All Stars Season 3.
And that's never been confirmed, but BB was a plant. Okay, 1,000%. Yeah. So there's that. Number 1. Number 2. I also subscribe to the, we don't want the first person to go home, so choose number 7, whatever. But I am also somebody who would have chosen number 7 to get in the very beginning. Lucky number 7. It's kind of in the middle. It's a perfect number and a lot of people's choices and that kind of thing. And I think it makes sense if you're on season 17 to go for the 7. So I genuinely think somebody could have gone for that. We have sat here and gone, well, how do we know that it was like, which levers or whatever? And it literally hit me when they brought out the badonkadonk right before that they pulled that. And I went, I wonder if the only way production could show that they didn't rig this is if they made it a number that makes sense. 17 makes sense because that's the season. So if she chooses 1 and she stays, okay, then it wasn't rigged, unless they told her Hormona. Well, she goes over to number 1 and I go, oh yeah, ain't no way they're going to send Ariete home. 1 gets pulled, she doesn't get down, and then I go, okay, so Ariete's smart. She went for the 1, knowing 1 and 7. Great. So I definitely think that there is a world where this was absolutely not rigged.
Okay.
That said, I wouldn't be shocked if they told Hormona.
Well, we know she licked the lever, so maybe they put like sugar on 7 and 1, and they were like,
they said whichever one has sugar on it, you have to lick it and then pull it, and they're like,
or like, yeah, she said in a confessional, she's like, my plan is to lick the lever, and they're like, quick, put some sugar on it.
One of them has honey on it, you'll know.
Amon, where do you fall in all this?
I was surprised that she stayed, because I feel like, I think I'm still so traumatized by It's Chocolate and them waking all the way until it was time to go home, and all of a sudden it was gold. So I guess I was just expecting for something similar to happen here. But did they explicitly say that this was only going to save 2 queens?
Yes.
Okay, I must have missed that part. Okay, but
So now the twist is over.
it's over.
Which
You know,
I'm
I'm glad for it to be over. I'm sure Michelle is glad for it to be over as well. And you know what, Arietta, you get one more shot, girl. You get one more shot, and maybe this next challenge should be your forte. So I just hope that the queens that are saved by it, which it seems so thus far, they have been making the best of their second chance. So I hate it when twists are wasted on queens that are just going to go home the next week. And right now, it's looking like that's not going to be the case. So
I do like that this happened pretty early in the season, where like if 17 and it was just by luck and happenstance that Harmona and Arietta get these in the first couple weeks, that's actually probably best case scenario, because I think the whole point of that is to give certain queens, whoever are the ones that choose it, a little bit more of a platform, right? To add some drama, and there's the TV elements, but it's also at the end of the day, like Drag Race is the platform to help launch a lot of these different careers and such, right? So I think that it's best when it's used in the beginning of the season and not when it's all of a sudden like we're at this final 6 and now we're down to whoever was at the last lever. We know that they're staying this week. Like that's not as much fun, right? So I like this in that sense that it's done. And now Arietta, who had all these people, and herself included, who were so pissed that Harmona stayed, I can't wait for all of them to be in the workroom next week, because it's Arietta being like, thank God for this twist. I'm so excited. And then you're going to have Anya Nerve go, I'm not excited. That's another bitch that should have gone home. And I'm damn. Also, I loved that. What would she say? The Kumbaya girls.
Yes, so that was Lexi. Calling the Kumbaya girls. Yeah, that was another thing from this episode. So it was Butthole, Hormona, Acacia, and Susie, who was the CEO of the Kumbaya girls. And the definition is that you have to be Kumbaya because they can't take it, they get offended, and they can't banter. That was Lexi's prognosis on the Kumbaya girls.
Interesting. I'm wondering to see if this is going to continue to be a through line throughout the rest of the show.
Yes, we shall see.
I hope so, because you know what? The last time we had stuff like that was season 7, and it was like the bitter old lady brigade, and everyone hated them, but then they loved like the Violet Pearl people. And I'm sitting back being like, I can't believe that we as a society didn't like Ginger and Kennedy being shady as hell.
I know.
And we only liked it when Violet did it, right? Now we can enjoy people of all ages. And by all ages, I mean all in their 20s, except for 133-year-old or whatever, being shady and identifying these are the girls you can't be shady with. But then I also love Susie too, then trying to like low-key like, oh, maybe with your eyebrows painted that way, you could. She's like, she's trying, and it's so weak. And then she's like, "Do you get it? It was so cute."
Oh, Susie.
The one last thing I do just want to briefly mention from this episode is Hormona's confessional when she's talking about that she'd never heard a vagina be called a beaver before. And she goes, is that why it's called a beaver? Because it eats wood? To me, it's the way she whispers. It's like she realized, she's like, is that why they call it? She's whispering in the microphone. Don't know why. Made me laugh. Highlight of the episode for me. Had to bring it up.
No, I love that.
Exactly.
I never thought about it that way either. I was like, ooh.
Because it eats wood. The same.
Might be on to something.
I love that. That's another conspiracy I can get myself behind this week.
Same. Well, might be a conspiracy theory next week, Beth, because we have the Sea Sickening Ball next week. And what we see from the preview is someone sabotages Lexi's garment? Oh,
Storming into the workroom, pissed off. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oof, pissed. And also, with the way it looks like it's going to come up in the judging, like, don't bring what happened in the workroom onto the stage. Oof. I am on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait for next week.
And La Roche.
Oh, of course.
Yes, La Roche is back, baby.
I love okay. I will continue to beat this fucking drum. Replace Carson and Ross with TS Medicine and La Roche today. Please.
I don't know. I still have love for the two of them.
I do too, but I'm like,
because then I feel like I would say if he's gonna replace somebody, it has to be Carson, unfortunately, because I feel like they sort of are. That's the similar role. They both are like more well versed into
yes.
fashion and looks and the history behind it and just architecture and structure. But Ross is that comedic relief, but he's also one that really understands star quality and charisma. And I think that he's always the one to sort of try to bring that piece out of the queens. And whereas Michelle, she's second in command, and she's sort of like the most well-rounded judge out of all of them, because RuPaul really won't say anything until everyone else has already said something. So I say yes, if you're going to replace somebody, replace Carson, unfortunately, but not both of them.
I say that purely because Law Roach last year was like my favorite guest judge has ever been, essentially. I loved watching Law on Legendary. I loved that I'm going to tell you how it is because the world's that way, and you're either going to rise up or you're going to let the world beat you down kind of approach. Because sometimes we need that tough love from somebody who's gone through tough love themselves and has like become the top of their game, right? This is somebody that when they read you, it's for your betterment because they wouldn't waste their time otherwise, right? And so you don't get that with Carson and with Ross because they're so nice. And not that Law's not nice, but like it's a different vibe. I also just think because obviously Carson and Ross now have a lot more to do with drag, but Law has been much closer to drag in his career through connections in the ball scene and through connections in fashion and, just like urban queer environments and such. And I just think that that's more aligned with so much of the background of not just RuPaul, but also like a lot of the queens that come through here. Not all of them, of course. But anyway, I'm just excited to see him. And I like complete left-hand turn. Are we just going to have all of the people who have been on the show hacks to be a guest judge on Drag Race? Like, I didn't even know people really, no offense, watched that show. And now we've had like pretty much everybody, like the guy this week.
Half these people were originally. I was
like,
oh.
Yeah.
Well, not just for this season, but we've had like the girl who does the like hi gay, like Megan Salter, I think is her name. She was on last season or the season before or something like that. We had the guy this week. We've had Jean Smart. I think has she been a guest judge? I feel like she has.
They're starting to, scrape the bottom of the barrel.
So they're going through all that, and I'm going back and being like, okay, well, no offense. Hacks seems like a really lovely show. It's gotten awards and all that kind of stuff. Bring back my queer judges.
Yeah. They put all the money into Katy Perry.
Also, that guy this week, what's his name? Paul Downs. He looks so gay. And he's not. I was like, how are you going to wear a vest without a shirt underneath?
I thought that hoe was gay.
Same. Okay. I know that I'm
right.
against everything I stand for when I say that, I'm now perpetuating the Sam Star patriarchy. But
yeah, join us next week for Beth's continued attack of every guest judge that's ever been on the show, including our main judges.
They're all hacks.
Join us next week when Beth goes full MAGA and actually starts standing Sam Star.
Oh God. Okay. But by the way, the podcast, we obviously do nothing Sam Star is anyway related to.
No.
I mean, it's all jokes. All right.
Joking.
Let's get out of here. You can find me on Blue Sky at Lianaism. Check out the Puy and Liana Lounge, puyandliana.com, or on the YouTube channel, the RHAP YouTube channel. Highly recommend you check it out, of course. Amon, where can people find you? What do you have going on?
You can find me everywhere at Amon Adwin. You can check me and Matt Lagori's podcast, The Diary Room, out over on YouTube and on anywhere that you can get your podcast. We're having a great time. We've had some great judges guests so far.
Is Law one of them?
So we're just chugging along over there. And that's it for me.
All right, Beth, what about you?
You can follow me on Blue Sky at Beth Dixon, Dixon. You can also catch me on Instagram and Twitch at AugustaWind11. I'm actually going to be recording with Amon and Matt this week in the diary room, so I can't wait to be a guest judge.
Yes! Oh my God, Amon, be like, oh, what a terrible guest.
And then I can't wait for the recap of that podcast where someone just tears me a new asshole because I deserve it.
Yes.
But no, I'm very excited to join Amon and Logori this week. So
amazing. All right. Leave your star ratings and reviews for us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Shout out to the whole RHAP team for all of their help behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.